Hello, everyone. This is a regular meeting of the Urbana Community Development Commission. So welcome to everyone, including our new commissioners. Our last meeting was some time back, back in November. But we do have an agenda for this meeting, and first in line is call to order. So I now call this meeting to order. Next, we have roll call.
Fred Cobb,
Here.
Janice Bankston, Chris Diana,
Here.
Ann Hines Silvis,
Here.
Lauren Karplus, Jerry Moreland, Karen Hodgen Jones,
Here.
Hakeem Salam.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, next we have approval of the meeting from our previous, the minutes from our previous meeting. That was back in November 22nd, 2016. So we'll take a minute to review those minutes, and after which I'll entertain a motion for approval or corrections. We'll take a minute to look them over. Okay, would anyone like to make a motion regarding our minutes? Someone who
I move
remembers?
we approve the minutes of the previous meeting as written.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the previous meeting as written. Any questions, comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the minutes stand approved as written. Next, we have petitions and communications. That's the opportunity for those in attendance here to raise something, anything you'd like to present to the commission at this time. You can do it now. Do you have anything?
I was really interested in how this work goes.
Okay. All right, we'll proceed. Well, I guess our petitions and communications was referring to our written communications. Do we have any written communications, Kelly?
No, we don't.
Okay, and we have no audience participation at this point. Staff report, that's next.
Okay, so before you have the staff briefing. I'll just highlight some of the items. We did receive 3 letters from HUD over the last several months since the last meeting. And one is that we have our home monitoring. We had one final finding, and we have completed that, and so our monitoring is now all done. So after 18 months of working with HUD and getting policies and procedures and other things in place, we are now good to go. So that feels really good that we have that. And then HUD also sent us a letter in December asking for additional information for our Homeless Families in Transition Annual Performance Report, which we submitted, and they accepted. And then the latest letter that we received was regarding our program year-end review letter, or in regards to our Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, or our CAPER, that we submit the end of September for fiscal year 15-16. So they reviewed it and sent us a letter asking us to submit additional information, which we will be submitting Friday to them. And hopefully that will answer their questions. In the past, we have had to submit additional information for clarification, but hopefully we'll be able to answer their questions, and then we'll be done and with that. So, so that's from HUD, and then you can see things that we've worked on, working on the CAPER process, attending meetings, monitoring budgets, and managing social service funding. In fact, that process will begin again in March. So look for that. Working with our subrecipients with our different grants, working on our different emergency and access grants. Our rehab coordinator has how many he has completed to date on his different rehab projects. And then the last page shows the different meetings that we attend: the Continuum of Care, Council of Service Providers to the Homeless, Senior Task Force, and the 2017 Regional Neighborhood Network Conference Planning Committee, which will be next October in Evansville, Indiana, which is only about a little over 3 hours away. So that's something that we'll keep talking about, and may see if there's any interest in attending that, because I will be attending that probably. So that is our highlights. If you have any questions about anything, let me know, and I can answer that for you.
I have one question about Courage Connection. You know, they were changing or transferring administration. How's that going? Has that been completed?
No, it's not. Part of the delay has been HUD. They have been in the process of hiring new staff and training, and so and plus, when we initially talked to HUD about this, it said it would probably be a 2-year process to transfer administration. But actually, I need to follow up with HUD to find out if they indeed have hired a new staff person for this grant, so that we can work on getting this moving along. So, yeah, but the delay's been with HUD.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
You're welcome.
Regarding staff report?
One question regarding on the rehab projects there, on the blight reduction in connection there with Habitat. I was noticing there kind of where our count is right now. We've got 15 projects, but 11 of those 15 are complete, so we have 2 in progress and 2 in demo. What's in the pipeline at this moment? Anything else?
I don't know. Do you want to respond to that?
So with the blight reduction program, we have all of the properties filled up, and that was exactly
So we
it.
were at the max with that.
That's right.
15.
There's a maximum of 15 for that program.
Okay. So it looks like we'll be able to finish them all out. And
That's right. Yeah.
good. Okay.
Now we're just waiting for reimbursement back from IDA. So.
Okay. Anyone else? If not, thank you very much. And we'll move on.
You're welcome. I wanted to add to the staff report that I'm going to have Matt talk about our annual action plan process is starting for fiscal year 17-18 that will start July 1st. So I was going to have him go through the schedule and then also talk about something that's related to that regarding what we're going to be doing for commitments. We need to do an annual action plan amendment for the last couple of years. So I'll let him go through that and talk to you about that.
So, just to run through real quick, the difference between the two items that Kelly talked about. An annual action plan is something that the city has to put together. It's a HUD requirement of showing to HUD how we plan to use their funding, the Community Development Block Grant and the home funds. And it's usually about a half-year process from beginning to end of putting together an annual action plan, gathering public input, and then submitting it to HUD. And we had a number of neighborhood meetings earlier in the month that took place on the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And we received some really good input at those. One of them was a meeting of social service agencies, and they were able to give us a lot of input about what the issues are in the community that we can then prioritize with these federal funds. So I thought they were very helpful, very beneficial meetings for us to be able to be there for that. Then moving on with the annual action plan itself, we then have to have a 30-day public comment period for the draft annual action plan. And that's a little bit later on in the year. That's we plan to start that on March 24th. Then we will bring a draft annual action plan to the CDC for approval on April 25th at the conclusion of that 30-day public comment period. And then City Council will then vote on officially adopting the annual action plan after that. So that annual action plan process is for our upcoming allocation of funds for fiscal year 17-18. What Kelly had been referring to earlier, the annual action plan amendment, ties into a planned request for proposals that the Urbana Home Consortium is planning to release in the next few days here for currently uncommitted home funds that originated in fiscal years 14-15, 15-16, and 16-17. Ordinarily, we would just use those funds for the activities that we have in the annual action plan, our whole house rehabs, new home constructions, things of that nature. But we want to try to open up options to the community at this point and see, ask for proposals from developers, social service agencies, to see if we can offer up some of these funds to help alleviate immediate concerns. Home funds are typically designed for permanent housing, and there has been a lot of talk about the need for homeless shelters in the community. So we're not entirely sure how much we could do to alleviate that, but we want to be able to get proposals and then act on those. And in order to do that, we need to amend the previous annual action plans to accommodate for whatever proposal is accepted through the RFP process. And the process for that, it will also require a 30-day public comment period. And there will also be a 30-day period for the RFP to be open. We hope to open the RFP this month and then bring it to the CDC in the end of March, hoping to bring the selected developers, selected projects to the CDC on March 28th. Then the public comment period for the selected developers, and then the amendment that will incorporate that will begin at the end of March, going to the end of April. Then at the same meeting for the 17-18 annual action plan, we'll also be bringing the final annual action plan amendment, which will allow us to act on the RFP at the CDC's April 25th meeting. Then it will go to council, and then we can act on the RFP, enter into a contract with whatever agencies end up getting selected through that process. And I know that was a lot of numbers and a lot of dates, so if anybody needs any clarification on that, please let me know.
And we can also send the schedule out.
Yes,
as well.
absolutely.
With the dates. We're also hoping next month, maybe during the study session that we have listed on here, is to begin kind of talking about the annual action plan and opening that up to even help prepare us to prepare a draft. So, so yes, we wanted to let you know that this is coming. Particularly, this is kind of a new thing I think that we've talked about in the consortium about trying an RFP to get, I know there's some agencies that have had TBRA and are interested, so I'm assuming that they probably would apply. There was an agency at Chodo training trying to drum up more for Chodos, had talked about maybe applying for some of their group homes. So we're hoping to get a variety of applications to see if, to use the funds to help those in the community that otherwise may not be able to, take care of the group homes and stuff like that.
Just a question, if I might, so I'm sure I understand on the process there. I mean, I understand where we're going to eventually end up with an amended process there in order to incorporate this project into there. Don't we actually have to amend it first before offering that RFP? I mean, there's no provision in that plan for something like that. So if we're offering it, or we have to offer it as a conditional RFP, because while we may assume that everybody is going to vote favorably for that and then amend it, if it hasn't actually been done in advance, we have no ability to offer an RFP, do we?
Well, we're making sure that only eligible activities for home are what's listed in the RFP. So TBRA, new construction, it's not, it's specific.
Sure,
Eligible
that part I
activities, right.
understand, but normally you're doing an RFP for available funds.
And
Right.
We don't actually have available funds until after we amend it to use those funds for that.
And the
I'm
RF,
just-
yeah,
I'm looking at the cart and the horse and saying that we
Gotcha.
have them in the right order.
the RFP does say that all commitments will be contingent upon approval by the Urbana City Council.
Great.
So that is definitely a consideration here.
Okay, good.
Okay, I'd like to comment on clarifying acronyms. Since we have new commissioners, I was wondering, do our new commissioners understand RFP and all these other letters and Chodos?
Yes, we had an initial meeting, and I gave them 3 pages of acronyms.
Oh, okay.
The most frequently used ones are on that list, so that,
Okay.
yeah, knowing
Very
that we use acronyms quite
Mhm.
frequently, so.
Yeah. Okay. Is there more to staff report?
No, that's it for our staff
Okay.
report.
Okay, let's move on. There is no old business listed here. So we'll go directly to new business. Under new business, we have a resolution approving an intergovernmental collaboration agreement, in parentheses, assessment of fair housing, PY 2020.
Yes.
Okay,
What this is in relation to, we are required by HUD, that assessment of, furthering fair housing, that we had a study session a few years ago about fair housing, and as related to federal funds, you have to make sure about fair housing. So the regulations had that we did that analysis of impediments to fair housing was the actual assessment that we had to do. Well, HUD has now clarified and updated the regulations regarding fair housing. So it's no longer the analysis of impediments to fair housing. It is now an assessment of fair housing. And Yeah, much easier to say. And the regulations also call for, if possible and recommended, to do a regional collaboration. That way you have a broader scope and you get more information regarding housing in the community. So actually it was last summer, HUD from Chicago came down. The public and Indian housing side, community planning and development side came along with the director, Ray Willis, talking about looking at doing a collaboration, in part because the village of Rantoul, the way their cycle runs, them and another community in the state would have been like the first two that would have had to have done it pretty quickly. And so by doing a collaboration and them being involved, they are now on our timetable and not theirs. So that was a positive. And then the other is that having more time, we were able to work on gathering all the information that we need for this assessment. So this HUD gave a template for the agreement, which we then worked with our legal department and came up with this intergovernmental collaboration agreement. So the agreement, in talking with housing authorities in the area as well as entitlement and the county, are on board pretty much for this. So knowing that the assessment will take quite a while, we are working on starting with this agreement, and then it has been sent to all of the potential partners, and then working on a meeting to discuss and start the process. So as you can see in the memo, we have done other intergovernmental agreements, like with the Housing Authority to do environmental services for them, with Stern Brothers when we did the mortgage credit certificate. This also follows along with our consolidated plan too, which is why we're also beginning this process. So HUD again encourages a collaboration for this completion of this assessment. And according to like the memo states, this way it makes sure that goals are consistent and collaborative. We will be the lead entity because we are also the lead entity for the Urbana Home Consortium. But that doesn't mean that we're going to be writing it all ourselves. Everybody will be, according to the agreement, providing participants, and will work to gather information in their community, their area, to put it all together with us. The types of collaborations can be between consolidated plan jurisdictions, between public housing agencies, or between consolidated planning jurisdictions and public housing. So I contacted all of the public housing agencies in the area, Piatt County Housing Authority, Ford County Housing Authority, Champaign County Housing Authority, Vermilion County Housing Authority, and Danville. City of Danville has a housing authority, and they were all interested in and were excited because a couple of them are very small and have 1 or 2 staff persons in their office, and were concerned about them being able to do this assessment on their own. So that's exciting. So, and then the communities are City of Champaign, City of Urbana, Village of Rantoul, City of Danville, and Regional Planning Commission, because they are part of the Home Consortium. So we're working to schedule the first meeting to formalize the collaboration and divide all the parts for this assessment. And then all the program participants are responsible for assigning at least a staff person or 2 to serve on this committee, so we can prepare this assessment and work on goals. They're also going to have their own goals as well as the collaborating goals. making sure that all stakeholders in their communities participate. So our recommendation is to have you review and forward this resolution to City Council with a recommendation for approval. As you can see on the final page, there's no fiscal impact to the city budget as a result of executing this agreement. Since it's a requirement of HUD, there is no direct cost to our grant programs. It will take considerable staff time to complete this assessment, so working in a collaborative effort will definitely make it more efficient for us to complete it in a timely manner. And so, any questions?
Okay, what is the timetable?
I know it's definitely due about the time of our next consolidated plan. I have to look at the regulations more. That's why, and HUD has actually contacted us at least once asking us where are we at in the process. So because of all of the meetings and such that we need to do, that's why we're working to start this early. But that is one thing that when we meet, we will work on what the regulations state, and we'll work on a timetable
Okay.
for when things are due. And we will definitely can bring that back after our first meeting, so
Okay.
you know the process and the timetable.
Okay. So, let's see, I notice fiscal and programmatic impacts. Again, it says that there will be no impact to the city budget as a result of executing this agreement. What about the effect on CD community development, home, and funds like those funds?
And then the next paragraph states, or the next sentence, that
Mhm.
there's no direct cost to our grant programs, because this is a requirement. Basically, what it's gonna take is more time, for us,
Mhm.
to complete the assessment.
Okay, this will take time away from what you would normally be doing, but you're spreading it out over
But
a
we're
lot
gonna
of people.
I mean, if we had to complete this all by ourselves,
Mhm.
I think it would take quite a bit of staff time. So by having this collaboration,
Mhm.
By having this collaboration, it will disperse all the requirements amongst, altogether it's 10 entities that are involved, 5 housing authorities, and then 4 entitlements in the county. So I think with, that's good and bad. Good in that all that we need to do, we can disperse it amongst everybody, but then the bad might be trying to coordinate with everybody. So, but I think I think it will help staff to be more efficient with time if we, if we only have a part to do versus the whole thing to do.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners?
No, I would just note in here, it looks to me from the question asked on that this is submitted, it says in accordance with the lead entity's consolidated plan program year start date. So I guess that would be what our start date would be.
Okay. Well, we have 3 options. We can approve it and ask the city council to approve it. And we can send it to city council for approval with suggested changes, or we can not recommend it. So I'll entertain a motion for one of those 3 options.
I move to send it to city council with a recommendation for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second to forward this resolution to the city council with a recommendation for approval. Any questions, comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, no? Ayes have it, and the motion is approved.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, we have no study sessions. Next on our agenda is adjournment. And I declare this meeting now adjourned. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you.